I'm Deborah Chadbourne, I'm the Executive Director of Music in the Round. The music that's at the heart of what we do is live and relevant, and it's live and relevant because it's about people, because it's a very human kind of music. And what we're doing is really important. What we're doing is allowing other people to experience this music, which is telling them something about their experiences, about their feelings, about their lives, about their relationships, even if they don't necessarily literally translate it in that way. That's why it's of value. It's entertaining, it's absorbing, it's a good thing to come to in an evening. It's, you know, potentially more constructive or valuable or educational than other things that you might do, but essentially it's reaffirming. And that's why it's of value now, and I hope will be regarded as valuable in the future. And I'm sure it will be, because I think there's something quite undeniable about the essential nature of it.
I am Thomas Hetherington. I play the violin. I've done tons of workshops and summer courses and things with music in the community. I've also been an audience member over the past 18 years. I think what's great about Music in the Round is that you have people who would never normally go to a classical music concert, and who maybe don't ever go to a classical music concert but are still engaged with the music through, you know, through the Music Box project and things like that, and going into schools, and that's incredible. So that's why it's important. I don't think classical music's dying at all. I just think it's getting better and better, and it's being listened to in different ways, which is really exciting. And Music in the Round, I feel, really, you know, it understands that, and they're moving with the times, as it were. They're the Netflix of the classical music world, and it's great.
My name is Andrea Eads, and I work for Sheffield Theatres, and I work for Front of House. I value Music in the Round because I've met such nice musicians, got to know them. A lot of them have grown up from, like, the Lindsays, some of their children, and now they're musicians, where they're having the tea and they're all having a talk and they're warming up. And then they come out into the foyer and they're all chatting and getting warmed up again where they're all going to sit. And then when they come in here, they play the music and people are just so enthralled with it. And then they just come out and it just explodes in here. And you can see what a high those musicians are, because they've done the job and they've thoroughly enjoyed it, you know. And it's lovely to be part of that. The young ones benefit from it. You get every age group come to the Music in the Round shows, and to me that's invaluable. That's fantastic.
I'm Tim Horton, and I'm the pianist in Ensemble 360, which is the resident ensemble at Music in the Round. There are many aspects of performing in the round that are special, but the most obvious one is the proximity of the performers to audience. It is, I think, a much more visceral experience to be in the round, the fact that you're being surrounded by an audience. You can feel either terrified, I mean that's the downside of performing in the round, it's more intimidating, initially at least. Took me a long time to get used to it. But once you are used to it, you feel as though you can do anything. You feel as though the audience is hanging on your every note. And if you're in the right frame of mind, that's a wonderful feeling to have. Music in the Round and music in the community, everything that we do here is of value at any point. 30 years ago as much as now, as much as in 30 years' time. It presents music informally to anyone who wants to come and shows them just how much more there is to existence. To life, to your emotional well-being, to your personal well-being, whatever. I've never come across anything like Music in the Round for it being able to do that, but all contact with arts, I think, is crucial for all of us.
I'm Rob Hollingworth, I'm the Deputy Editor of the Star newspaper. My most memorable experience is a concert of Messiaen, an absolutely packed auditorium. I think there were 13 musicians and it was so hot, it was absolutely roasting, and the music itself was amazing, and at the end of it I think nobody could get off their seat. They were so drained, it was so emotional, but an amazing moment to experience. The things I've most valued about Music in the Round, firstly, it's put Sheffield on the international music map. Without Music in the Round, we wouldn't have seen the amazing musicians they've brought to the city, and we wouldn't have experienced the incredible festivals they've been able to put on. There's no doubt in my mind that Music in the Round has made Sheffield a much better musical city. In terms of its outreach work, the work that it does with schools in less affluent areas of the city is inspiring, because if you can get kids into music and enjoy it, it's such a great step forward. It's a way into a much better world.
My name's Alison Blakemore. I'm the acting head teacher at Phillimore Primary School. I worked with Polly on a 4 choirs project with Music in the Round. It was the celebration of 5 years of youth music, and they did a concert called The Big Gig in Birmingham. And we were able to take 6 children from my previous school, and we went and stayed overnight, which was very exciting for the children, and they performed it in Birmingham in a mass choir. And then in the morning we took them to Cadbury World because we had some free time, and there was a big gig poster up in Cadbury World, and one of the girls from my school went, "Oh, that's us, we're the big gig." So it's memorable for me, and I know if I see those children now in town, that's the first thing they say. Do you remember when we went to Birmingham?
I'm Ronald Burks. Most people know me as Ronnie, and I was, until 2005, second violin in the Lindsay String Quartet. The thing that I've most valued, and I come to a lot of the concerts now, and to watch these young people coming here in the beginnings of their careers mostly, and not knowing what to expect, and watching them grow into these wonderful artists that they become. Elias Quartet, for example, who were founders of Ensemble 360. To watch them now, compared with 3 or 4 years ago, it's just wonderful to see where they've gone, and their career is blossoming. They've got a wonderful recording career, they've got a wonderful international career now. And that, for me, has been the most gratifying. I think it's vital that everybody at some stage should be exposed to this music, which I find it's nourishing for the soul. I can remember my grandmother always used to say, "Oh, I don't like tomatoes." And my mother would say, "She's never tasted one." I can remember that vividly. She's never even tried one. She doesn't know whether she likes them or not. And I think it's a similar kind of thing. It's a prejudice which is entirely unfounded. And I think if you can get people into this studio listening to absolute top-class music played by these wonderful musicians, sky's the limit.
I'm Tracy Bryant, and I'm Music in the Round's project manager currently. I've been with the organisation for 11 years at this point. Personally, my most memorable experience is an audience experience of someone coming up and telling me all about their family, and the fact that most of their family passed away in concentration camps at a point when we were doing a day focusing on the music that came from Terezin, a concentration camp that flourished with music. And just knowing that that had really hit a chord with an audience member, and that she felt confident and comfortable sharing some of her life stories with us through that music, and she was reliving some of that history and thinking about her family through that day and that music. And then a concert later that day, there was a gentleman who had survived that camp in the audience himself. Just really made you remember and realise that music is relevant to everybody's lives, and it's more than the notes on the page.
My name is John Suchet. I'm a Classic FM presenter, and I've been involved with Music in the Round for best part of 10 years. I've been here both as performer, giving my Beethoven talk, and as a member of the audience. And I've always believed that the intimacy of the setup here, artist and audience so close to each other, is the perfect way to experience chamber music. I have heard Peter Cropper and the Lindsays perform Beethoven in the Round here in Sheffield, and to hear Beethoven like that, to see them looking at each other, to see the interconnection between four players, just four single voices, and yet four voices united, speaking the same language, the language of Beethoven, absolutely unforgettable. Beethoven, when he was criticised for one of his pieces of music, he said, "This music is not for you, this music is for future generations." Well, he was a bit of an angry man when he said that, but the message is true. Music will be here forever. For as long as human beings exist, they will have the music that was produced by great geniuses to enjoy forever. And who knows what the world would look like in 5 centuries from now. But I bet you one thing, I bet you Music in the Round will still be going in Sheffield.
My name's Leon Lockley, and I've been coming to Music in the Round concerts for some time, mainly as a camera operator filming the concerts, which is an absolutely incredible job to have, to be honest. I think one of my most absolutely memorable experiences was the Stan and Mabel concert. Just being in that room, and it was in the Octagon as well, so you know, a bigger venue than the normal studio. But it was absolutely packed with children and their families, and it was just so great to see so many people in one room all enjoying this unique experience. Polly Ives singing and doing all the different actions, and just everybody joined in, and grown-ups as well. But more than that, the songs are just incredible, and they've stayed with me. They're in my head constantly. I'll just be walking down the street one day and I get Stan and Mabel come into my head, or any of the numerous songs that are in there. So yeah, I think that one stayed with me and will stay with me for some time.
Hello, I'm Burley Doherty. I'm a frequent audience member. I'm a friend, and I've contributed an opera libretto and 3 stories for performance with Music in the Round. I live not far from Sheffield. I live out in Edale, so within half an hour, 40 minutes, I can come to a concert of the highest possible quality. I've never, ever, ever been disappointed by a concert that I've attended. The quality is immensely high, and we're so very, very lucky to have Music in the Round based in Sheffield. Of many, there are 2 most memorable experiences for me. One was the fantastic privilege of being commissioned to write an opera which is performed by members of Music in the Round and by children, and to see it performed here was incredible. The other, and has to be the most memorable experience, was the final performance by Peter Cropper and the Lindsay String Quartet, and I will never ever forget that.
I'm Patrick Vaughan, and I'm a friend of Music in the Round and have been for ages. And I think I've most valued the fact we have continuous world-class musicians coming to meet us and play with us. It's wonderful. In the studio here, where we're all surrounding the musicians, it feels to me as though they are playing very personally to me, and that makes a difference to what I actually hear. And of course, if I'm sitting in a seat like this, I can look across them at audience members on the other side, and I'm very aware sometimes that the music is affecting them just as it's affecting me, and we're sort of mirroring each other's emotions while we're listening. And I think that changes the way we listen. And certainly I've heard visiting musicians say the quality of the listening here is rather different from in most other places.
My name's Gemma Rosefield. I'm cellist in Ensemble 360 and I'm lucky enough to have been in this amazing group and associated with Music Around for about 3.5 years. Working with Polly and building up a relationship with some of the children, especially one little girl in particular called Alice, who's wants to be a cellist, and she's started coming to our evening concerts as well in Barnsley and also to our children's concerts, and having something like that, inspiring someone and being able to connect with them like that makes it all worthwhile for me. And also the amazing audiences here and that Music in the Round have built up that continue to come year after year, and that started from the Lindsay Quartet and then have stayed faithful to Ensemble 360 as well. I think it's like nowhere else in the world.
My name's Hugh Champion. I first became aware of Music in the Round right at the outset when the Lindsays were setting up their legacy project, and I thought it was a really exciting idea right from the beginning. What I've most valued about Music in the Round is the accessibility that they offer and their freshness, openness and lack of pomposity. I think the thing that sticks in my mind most is a project they were involved in Doncaster, which took place in the Minster, and it was a piece of music written by a jazz trombonist, Dennis Rollins, and it was a big project involving young musicians, other local musicians, seriously good professional jazz players and kids from Doncaster Youth Jazz. And Ensemble 360 opened the show in effect, and they were placed at different points around the Minster, kind of silently hovering while the crowds gathered. And then the first note struck up, and it was just mesmerising. And they passed notes on between each other, as it were. And it was a phenomenal start to a brilliant evening, and I'll always remember that.
I'm David Brown, and I suppose I'm the oldest member of the board because I was here at the beginning, and I was asked to join the board 30 years ago, and it's been a great privilege. I remember as a child being taken to a concert by the then and now defunct Yorkshire Symphony Orchestra, which came to play in our school. And that actually had a big influence on my life, because just watching live musicians made me realise that live performance is so important. I think we've been jolly lucky because we've had educators who have actually taught us things. I knew nothing about chamber music till I actually started coming to these concerts. And now, I think of all the media of music, chamber music is now my favourite.
I'm Sarah Barlow, and I've been coming to Music in the Round concerts for a good number of years, but also helping on the communications side as well. Most recently making some of the films, which means I get to interview a lot of the people involved with Music in the Round behind the scenes as well as the musicians, which has been an amazing experience. When I think back to my childhood, I was really fortunate to have parents who loved classical music, and that meant I was listening to it before I knew it was classical music, and I think that's really important. You're just listening to music. If people can kind of get rid of those barriers, then you're really onto something, and that's what Music in the Community concerts do. They bring families together, and that's great because parents are bringing their children, so for many of them it's their first experience, while it's their 2-, 3-, 4-year-olds' first experience. And if those children can grow up without those barriers there, then maybe, just maybe, they'll kind of have the same passion for classical music that I've got and that everybody else in the Music in the Round audience has.
Hi, my name's Paul Thomas. I'm a sort of concert junkie. I'm a friend and a volunteer of Music in the Round. What I most value is the fact that I go to concerts all around the country. I found that the best atmosphere, apart from the Royal Albert Hall Promming, is here at Music in the Round. There is no other place quite like it in the country. I remember the first time I had the wow factor. I think it must have been 2007, 2008. It was a performance of the Mendelssohn Octet, and I was up on tier 2, but the energy I'd never experienced before. And there's been so many since then. The evening where we had the Rite of Spring followed by the Quartet for the End of Time was amazing. And 2013 when we won the RPS award in the middle of the festival, which was fantastic. And of helping out with the silent art auction that year to buy the new piano was fantastic.
I'm Kate Thompson and I've been involved with Music in the Round for a very long time. I started off doing their outreach projects at school, and now I'm very fortunate to be working with them, doing a project called Sound Play, going into nurseries and doing music projects there. I was a part of the chorus in Daughter of the Sea, which was an opera, and we were lucky enough to be supporting professional opera singers, and as a 14-year-old it was just an amazing experience to be stood on the Crucible stage and singing with these fantastic singers, and they've given me that chance to see what classical music is like and be part of it myself, and it's such an amazing opportunity that they're giving people, and they're giving people the chance to see if they like it for themselves. It's so incredible that you've got these fantastic musicians that are making this amazing sound right in front of you, and it's a unique, every performance is going to be unique, and it's just sharing that with lots of people that you don't know, but you've all having this shared experience at the same time. It's amazing.
My name's Angus Smith and I'm the Artistic Director of Music in the Round. I think with Music in the Round we can point to the fact that we do enrich people's lives. We provide an opportunity to hear great music and great musicians. We have an opportunity to introduce young people to our world of music. We're proud of the fact that we can help young musicians develop their skills. We take a great pleasure in introducing our existing audiences to music they may not have heard before, and we take particular delight when we can attract new audiences to come and hear what we're doing. I do have a belief that communication is the most important thing that we need to turn our attention to in this modern world, that through music we have a power and ability to connect with people, whatever their backgrounds, whatever their experiences, and in that sense I would happily subscribe to the view that music is the one true universal language.
My name's Helen Cowan, and ever since Music in the Round existed I've had some sort of relationship with them. I suppose primarily as with my work as head of music at a local comprehensive school. I've been involved with several education projects, and the one that sticks out more than anything is Daughter of the Sea, when we had an opera project in the Crucible on the main stage. And it was an amazing experience because we were working alongside professional singers with the Lindsays. I led 4 choirs in the project, and the coming together of the different groups I think was one of the highlights of my life. And really what made it for me were parents who came from parts of the city who'd never been to the Crucible before, and we had to really encourage them to come. And after the performance of Daughter of the Sea, quite a few parents came up to me and said, I've never experienced anything like that before, and can we do it again?
I'm John Cowling. I'm the chair of the Board of Music in the Round. I've been a director of Music in the Round for a good number of years now. I came to Sheffield about 20 years ago. I'd come from London, where I was surrounded by the arts, the theatre, music and everything. And when I arrived here, I was just amazed that we had such quality chamber music going on in our city. I'm intensely passionate now about the fact that we can bring chamber music to all age groups and ensure that youngsters have a chance to appreciate classical chamber music as well as all the other sorts of music that's out there and they get totally immersed in. So I think we do something really special around the music in the community agenda. I'm a great believer in doing everything once, giving it a try, and live classical music is no different than anything else. What have you got to lose? The worst that can happen is that you might learn something more about yourself. But the chances are it will be something that can enrich your life forever.
My name's Elliot Bailey. I'm a cellist and I've played a lot of concerts with Music in the Round and also gone to see a lot of their concerts as well. My most memorable Music in the Round experience was when we played the Finzi Clarinet Concerto with Sarah Beattie, because we got visited by the Decoded Music of New York, which is a professional chamber ensemble of virtuoso musicians, and it was great to sort of have them share their expertise with us. It was great performing in the round and working with professional high-ranking musicians who've studied at the great conservatoires and studied with other famous musicians. As an aspiring musician, it's interesting to sort of try and replicate their sound and you sort of get inspired by their music and how they play. I think music in the round or music in the community is particularly great for the future and valuable for the future because it helps to create a younger generation of better musicians.
My name's Polly Ives. I am creative producer of learning and participation with Music in the Round. I'm also a workshop leader, a concert narrator and a cellist and a concert goer. Music in the Round, and especially through the learning and participation programme, is very much about nurturing the audiences and musicians of the future. We've seen so many young people continue in their studies and their future careers, and this really is something that I think is so exciting for the future. With so many changes in the funding for the arts and education changes around the country at the moment, I think we're in such an exciting phase that we've got so many wonderful projects that we can work with to continue to make this a really vibrant and inspirational activity for young people and their grown-ups.
My name is Peter Hill and I'm a pianist and also former teacher at Sheffield University. I've lived in Sheffield for, well, over 35 years anyway, and I was involved with Music in the Round right from the off, right from 1984 when the first festival took place. Music in the Round is valuable, you know, over and above the music it plays, which is absolutely marvellous, and the standard of playing is fantastic, and the experience of being in this particular place and hearing it is also, I think, pretty much unique in my experience. I mean, the closeness, the ability to hear, you know, the smallest nuance in the performance is absolutely terrific. From the word go with Music in the Round, if there was a philosophy, it was to break down the kind of artificial barriers between the audience and the player and the music. And, you know, you go out and have your ice cream in the interval and you're likely to bump into, you know, one of the players also having an ice cream, and you have a chat about the music in the first half. It's absolutely marvellous, I think. So I think the sense of community makes this really a unique kind of venue, and Music in the Round a unique organisation.
I'm Tracy Shibley. I am currently an audience member for Music in the Round. Once upon a time I was Tracy Waters, and for 10 years between 1995 and 2005 I was the administrator for Music in the Round. My most memorable Music in the Round experience has to be Burley Doherty and Richard Chew's Daughter of the Sea, which was the community opera project in 2004. We commissioned it and over 3 years worked with hundreds of school children on the Manor Estate in Sheffield to come together for 2 performances. It had amazing performers, but also all of these kids who had never experienced classical music before. It was fantastic. I still feel emotional when I think about it. My background is in literature first and foremost. Ian Forster's quote, "Only connect," resonates for me through the experience of live music. We live in a society now where social interaction is on Facebook, it's on Twitter, and there is so little that is about that personal sharing of experience. And for me, live music does that better than any other art form. It brings people together. They have a shared, unique experience that can never be lived again because every performance is different. Live music brings people together and you have that common bond and you connect.
My name is Janet Sisson. I used to work with Music in the Round when I worked for Doncaster Council and ran a programme called Hot House, but I also promoted the regular concerts in Doncaster. One of the things that we programmed was their children concert, which they do once a year with a narrator. And the second one we did, we got lots of looked after children in who, for them, it was clearly the first experience of classical music. And although there were 1 or 2 disruptions, 1 or 2 out of 100 who sat there and loved it and enjoyed it, and the music, Polly's narration, all of it. And it was just lovely to be part of that. I've seen them work with young people. I've seen them do interesting things and take older people who are used to a particular thing out of their classical music box. And I think that to keep challenging people all the time, even in little ways, is really important.
My name is Robin McEwen and I work with the ensemble on this project with the school students of around about 14 and 15. We brief the students in various aspects of compositional technique, and then we have a 3-session day where we all get together in this wonderful space and we workshop the compositions, and then we perform and then record the music. Live music is so important. Everyone uses music digitally. They use it through headphones and you use it through speakers. But it's the difference between looking at an illustration of the Sistine Chapel and going all the way to Rome and then drinking in the absolute visceral experience of all that detail and all that vividness in the place where it was made. And the thing about music is that you can sit in Sheffield and the Sistine Chapel comes to you. If I could talk about the performance in October of the Elias Quartet doing late Beethoven string quartets, that to me was the Sistine Chapel coming to Sheffield.
I'm Simon Clements. I'm a member of the audience and I've been coming to Music in the Round for 30 years. Over the years, one of my great pleasures has been to start scribbling and sketching in the programme, which then became, so they're sort of archives really of concerts, and that then became me with a tiny little sketchbook. Here it is, and I devised a little paint palette so it's not a nuisance to anyone, I hope. I think in the end it's my way of listening, and I think that from an audience point of view in this studio, the music played by the ensembles and soloists is a very visual experience. It's extraordinarily tactile. So from an artist's point of view, it is in fact an experience to be caught. For me, it's very important that with live music, that there is always a sense of risk. And there is a tendency in our public world to think that classical music has to be perfect. Peter Cropper certainly never thought that. And one of the things we get with Music in the Round is this terrific sense of risk. They're prepared to take risks. And so we have the excitement of that experience.
My name is Benjamin Nabarro and I'm one of the violinists of Ensemble 360. I've valued lots of things about working for Music in the Round so far, and first and foremost it's playing lots of concerts, playing to an audience which is made up of people who come often to the concerts. So that's to say that you turn up to a concert and you're not just playing to an anonymous audience, which is a really nice thing. It's a nice thing for us, but I think it's a great thing for an audience as well, to get a continuity, get to know the players. We talk about music in the round and a separate music in the community, but in fact the two are very linked, of course, and they overlap in lots of different ways. And any concert, I like to think anyway, that we do here is part of music in the community. The audience here feels like a community, here and in the other places that we play in the round. And I think that's the most special thing for me.
I'm Peter Cropper, and 30 years ago, which we're celebrating on December the 6th, I started Music in the Round. So in 1984, we did a festival here in the wonderful Crucible studio of 32 concerts in 14 days, quite a marathon. I've spent 50 years of my life performing really what I consider to be the greatest music. There is other music that's very great, but there's nothing greater for me than the most intimate thoughts of all the great composers. And it's about looking into your soul. It may not be music for you, but I feel that I can't teach anybody about ballet, but I can show them that this is something that if they look into it, their quality of life, I think will change. It's like going to a great art gallery, it's like looking at great architecture. Every time you experience these things, what it gives you is a feeling that you want to get up tomorrow morning to live life. If you go and play a late Beethoven quartet to 5-year-old kids, they're absolutely transfixed. They have no preconceived ideas that this is difficult music. They understand that there's something great going on. What has been very interesting for me in being involved with Music in the Round was that I started off being a violinist and didn't realize how difficult it is to organize concerts, how much work is involved. And I think the thing that I'm almost most proud of is that when I finished working closely and organising in Music in the Round a few years ago, I felt absolutely overwhelmed that we had an office of people who were really dedicated to what we've been doing. And I felt proud that I'd helped them to hone their skills and to give them, I think I did, give them inspiration. Because the most important thing about Music in the Round for me is that it's music inspired, and I'm really grateful to all the people who've been working in the office right from the very beginning. We are getting new people in all the time. Chamber music has an average audience of 0.1% of the population, and I think over the 30 years we've now made it 1% here. So we're 10 times more, but we've still got 99% to go.